Planeta con Larry Navarrete.
Welcome back to Bottom Line with Larry Navarrete, the one and only, the famous lender of Yuma County, financial advisor.
I don't know. Don't call me financial advisor because people may interpret it the wrong way, and then I'm going to need a license for financial advisor.
Magical guru. This is episode number, what is it, Alex?
17, you said? 17.
16 candles?
16.
16 candles. Larry, we're back here talking about what's going on with the housing industry, with home loans. Let's talk about.
First of all, once
some
again,
ugly
Larry
stuff.
Navarrete with Loan Suite Mortgage, NMLS 670-362.
That's what takes up most of our time. You're saying that number, yeah.
Hey, remember at the beginning, I would always forget it. I had the same number for 20 or 15 years or whenever it started in existence, and I still don't remember.
You should get it tattooed.
No tattoos.
That'd be
Because then
pretty cool.
AI, then they'll change it to something else, and you never know.
So let's talk about some artificial intelligence. Foreclosures,
Which side?
both sides.
Are you the sad person losing the home, or you're the person, the hawk taking advantage of it?
Let's move on to the hawk at the end. Let's talk about the ugly side where I'm losing my house. Why would I be losing my house, Larry?
Well, obviously stop making mortgages. You start, the bank doesn't, and just so you know, because I've seen it, I worked for a big institutional bank where the person, your payment is due on the 1st and you have
Okay.
until the 16th or 17th. After that, it's late fee and you still have until the 30th to pay to the end of the month, or the 31st, depends on the month, right? Before the next payment comes due. After the 17th or 16th or 17th, depends where your contract is. Most of them is the 16th or 17th. You pay a 5% fee.
Okay.
They don't report you to the credit report until the 1st of the following month, the 30 days late. So after the 16th or 17th, you pay a late fee, right?
But
For
you
the
don't
first-
get reported.
But you don't get reported.
Now,
Okay.
if it's till the end of the month, then
Until the 1st of the month, or the following month, that's when you get reported. You can pay at the end of the month, you pay your fee, and it's not reported late. Okay.
but if I go on to the first and I still haven't
I had a
paid-
customer came the 2nd of the following month, dropped off his keys,
Mm-hmm.
said, I can't pay the home. I don't want, hey, sir, but you still got time. Nope, I can't pay no more. Middle age, Mexican person, sad, ashamed, everything. I just can't pay it, just didn't want to give too much information.
Yeah.
Right? And he was feeling really down. I just can't pay for, here, take my keys. A lot of people think, or the contrary to what people think, the banks are not in the business to take homes.
they don't want to take your
They
house
don't want to
away.
take your home. No, they try to do everything to put you. There's programs there. During COVID, there was a forbearance, right? There's negotiations where you negotiate with the bank, where and they do this during economic downfalls, where they renegotiate your loan, right? Sometimes lower your interest rate. They see you're 4 or 5 payments behind 6. You know what? Let's put this at the back end of your contract, and let's start fresh. Continue.
How about if your income changed? Like you lost your job, or is the bank still going to work with you?
You know what? Every situation depends.
Case
the
by
bank,
case.
It's a case by case, and like I said, in most cases, the banks don't work with you unless it's some kind of economic downfall where the government assists the bank.
Okay.
When they call bailouts, the bank, the government does all these different programs. Right?
Like what happened during COVID? That
What
a
happened
lot of
during
people
COVID?
that they froze their payments.
Yeah, froze their payments.
So what happened when
So
the,
they,
when the
no,
payments?
wait a minute. They didn't freeze your payments.
Okay.
They, forbearance, you're on forbearance for 3 or 4 months, whatever, and they add those payments to the end,
They added to the end of the loan.
to the end of the loan.
They didn't ask them to pay them. I've heard stories where they say once that ended that they had to pay all that money they owed.
No, they added to the back end of the loan.
Okay. So
Right.
a lot of people shouldn't be losing their homes because of that COVID money.
No, that was, it's almost 5 years ago.
Okay.
5 years ago. So we're talking just regular foreclosures, right? It happens, right? And it happens every day, every month, right? For whatever.
I've been hearing a lot of stories about
for
foreclosures
whatever
lately.
reasons, divorces,
Yeah.
separations, job loss, deaths, in the family.
Usually
right?
it's divorces around here.
Divorces, and not just around here, everywhere, right? Divorces and deaths. That's the kind of like the foreclosure. Now, you got to understand that on a foreclosure, you miss one payment, the bank doesn't come after you.
Okay.
It's usually your 4th or 5th payment that you're behind.
That's when they're like, they're worried.
where they're worried, really worried. And there's a process what they have to do. I mean, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure it takes 3 or 4 months for the bank, and then they have to post your delinquency for 90 days. Now, they won't post your name. They have to post it in the newspaper.
They put the address or what?
No, they don't put address. They put the parcel number.
Okay.
Look at your paper on Saturday, and you'll see trustee sale or forgot in the back towards the end of the first section in the back.
They'll post
and
the
it'll
parcels.
post parcel number there, here and there, and it'll say trustee sale or whatever. They have to post it for 90 days.
Okay. So that still gives you a chance to get out of it?
Yeah, so you say if you're 4 months behind, that's when they post it. That's 3 months after that, 90 days, that's 7 months. So at 7 months that you really still haven't lost your home. So if you fall a month behind, don't go turn in your keys, right?
Okay.
Still try to negotiate. And remember, that's if everything happens sequentially in order.
There's an
now, what
order to
happens if there's a lot of foreclosures? By the time they come back to your house, and there's another houses, and there's a team, 4 or 5 people or 1,000 people, right, doing this. There are certain stages they have to do. So you have to be, let's say, 4 months behind, 160 days, and then on the 161st day, that's when they can post it. Well, trust me, somebody's not right there waiting on the clock, waiting for that 161st day to come up. Oh, let me go run and post it now. No, it probably takes another 2 or 3 weeks before
they
they
put it
finally
up.
remember again, or they get to it. Right, and then there's still a process. They have to go to your local newspaper. And remember, the bank is not around the corner.
Yeah.
Right. The bank is in a big city somewhere,
New
the
York
Midwest,
or
New
somewhere,
York,
yeah.
Right. The West Coast. And by the time they get, and that's maybe just another month or 2 to just get that process done. So I'm gonna say it takes about a good. I say the fastest 8 months, about a year for them to foreclose on your home.
Wow. So you have some time to either fix stuff or get
Fix
out of
stuff,
it.
yeah. And I've seen it where the most I've seen is back in like 2012, right around there. Cash for keys. He was 47 months behind. He was a month away from his 4th year.
And they hadn't taken his house.
No, and they gave him $10,000.
Wow.
Cash for keys.
The bank doesn't want you to lose the house, like you said.
The bank doesn't want your house.
How about taxes? How about when you fall behind on your taxes?
So if you have a mortgage, it's very hard to file.
Because they pay it, they include it.
Because they usually include it. Now, if you did a conventional loan and you put a certain percent down and everything, and you option to exclude them, right? The bank still gets a bill, and you get it. So what happens if you don't pay your taxes 1 year, 2 years?
They notify you.
I'll be honest with you. About 15, 16 years ago, I had a property that my taxes weren't included, and I missed my taxes on the house a year and a half, whatever. And then all of a sudden I get a letter from the bank, boom, we're gonna charge you the taxes, the back pay than you, and we're gonna escrow it now. And I'm like, oh, what happened? My payment went up $300. Well, the bank will pay the back pay and everything. They'll pay it, and then they'll charge you.
But now they'll include it with the loan.
Now they'll include it.
And you were okay before, but you forgot to pay it. So
I
now
forgot to pay it.
They probably had to pay the penalty.
Yeah, they paid the late fees and everything,
Yeah.
and then they just charge me. So they don't, whenever you have a mortgage, trust me, the bank they're gonna find out, and they're gonna go ahead and pay it. Most of the time, people have their taxes included.
Yeah, I would say 98% of the time I've seen that included with insurance and the
taxes.
the
Very
taxes.
few they don't, right?
And then you got the PMI and all that other.
So then that's where, I like I said, personally, it happened to me.
Okay.
Right now, if you have your home paid off, there's obviously no tax. There's no
Lender.
There's no lender, so there's no monthly escrow account, right? So that means you have to go pay it on your own. I've seen it. I can't say I've seen it. I've known of a person that got a property based on taxes.
They bought a house.
They foreclosed on a home.
Okay.
So they paid that person's taxes for 5 years.
So they bought the house from the person.
No, they didn't. They paid it. So if you're delinquent, you own your home free and clear, and you're delinquent, right? You haven't paid your taxes. There's people that dedicate themselves. Who's delinquent? And then I'll go pay Aaron's taxes for this house for 2024, and then I'll pay the 2025, 2027. 26, 27.
So now I owe that guy?
So, now you owe me at an interest rate, whatever now if you don't pay me after 5 years, I could go foreclose on the home based on
Really?
taxes.
Wow.
And
Anybody can go pay your taxes?
Yeah, anybody can. But if you pay, well, how are they? You got to be delinquent, right? And they have to pay for 5 years in a row. And I think they have to give you notices and stuff like that.
And they got to pay you got to pay them back an interest rate because they helped you out and paid you.
But let's say you pay them year 4, they start all over.
Okay.
I seen one where, like I said, that person bought a foreclosure. I mean, he foreclosed because of taxes, and I seen one. Believe it or not, the HOA.
The HOA took the house away because they owe taxes.
No, because they wouldn't pay the HOA.
Oh shit!
They wouldn't pay the HOA. They owned the house, and they wouldn't pay the HOA.
The ho got
And
him.
the HOA foreclosed.
Wow.
The HOA foreclosed.
Well, they didn't pay for the.
I had, and the
get
reason
the
I know
pool
it because
cleans on there.
I was doing the loan, and the HOA foreclosed on the property.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, too late for that.
So yeah. So there's different types of foreclosures, right? The most common one is when you don't pay the home.
Well, you don't pay.
But people don't get scared. If you're a month or 2 months behind, nobody's going to come and take your home back.
Let's talk about the sharks.
So then on the other side, when we went back to, they have to post it for 90 days.
Yeah.
On the trustee sale. Well, that's public records. There's people here in Yuma and all over the country that are looking up every day which homes went on the trustee sale. Public information. So you could look at the trustee, the parcel number. You see,
Look it up on the county website.
You look it up in the county website. You see how much they owe. They don't know. You don't know how much they owe right now. You can get yourself an idea, right? Me being in the mortgage business, I could get myself an idea of how much they owe. Why? Because I see the note of when they got that last loan. If it's either a purchase or a refinance, so I see what the loan amount was, right? And then the day they got it. So in my head, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what kind of the interest rates were at that time. So I kind of could figure with the interest rate, right?
And how much the value of the house is.
And I look at kind of like what the balance is, and obviously that consideration, I add about 12 months worth of payments because that's how long at least it's going to take them to foreclose, right? So I do that calculations. I'll see how much they owe. Now, your idea, if you get to that point, one, if you're not going to catch up, right? If you're not going to get there on track and everything and start all over again, sell the home.
Sell to the shark.
No, sell it. Give yourself an opportunity to sell it at market value.
Talk to a realtor and put it for sale.
Talk to a realtor and put it for sale.
That way, if you owe $100,000 on the home,
Say if you owe $120,000 and your house is worth $250,
you're going to get some money.
you're going to get some money.
And the bank will get paid off their
And the
loan.
bank will get paid off. You lose bad credit, but you don't get a foreclosure.
And then you get some money in your pocket.
You get some
That
money
way
in
you
your
can
pocket.
go rent another place or maybe buy a trailer or something.
Yeah, and then within a year or two, you probably fix your credit. You're back in the market again.
So that's a good time to look for a realtor if you're not going to catch up.
Better look for a realtor.
Okay.
Now, what happens is that's when we go with the sharks. As that date gets closer and closer to this trustee sale,
offer
remember
you
90
less.
days, they start offering you less because they know that you have no choice, right? Could you postpone a trustee sale date? Yes, if you talk to the bank. Remember, it's communication. You talk to the bank. And if you give the bank a good enough reason or whatever, they might extend it another 30 days.
Because the bank wants to get their money.
Well, the bank doesn't want to kick you out. It's bad publicity,
Yeah. Oh.
right? And with all, it's bad publicity.
Throw the couches out and and the mattresses.
Right?
And the kids crying.
Bad publicity, right?
Yeah.
So that's when you hear me talk about in the past episodes, what is it? What do you want? And I'm like, well, I want lower rates, right? At what cost?
At what
I
cost?
want, what's the cost? Remember, if there's a lot of foreclosures and everything, that's what's going to drop the rates. What's going to drop the rates? Recessions, you know what I mean? A war,
Something dramatic.
something dramatic, right? Where there's a lot of foreclosures, people losing their jobs. That's a recession.
Our rates are higher than.
They're lower than they were a year ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're definitely lower than they were a year ago.
What are we at? 6?
The mid sixes, low sevens.
Okay.
I mean, it has to do with credit,
Okay.
right? Loan to value, stuff like that. Purchase, refinance. Is it a primary residence?
An investment.
Is it an
whatever.
investment? All that stuff. So they're just all this different stuff. I mean, there are 8s. You can still get it. They're still out there in the 8s. Your credit is not that good, and you're doing a refinance on an investment property.
But the home values haven't dropped, huh?
No, a little bit. They're still. They haven't climbed,
Okay.
but they're still there.
It seems like there's a lot of houses out there for
Oh,
sale.
and you know everything on their price, right? But getting back to the foreclosures, right? So give yourself a chance, right? I've knocked on people's doors, right? It's hard. It's hard because they're going through a situation.
And do they know what they're
Some
going
of them, at the beginning, most of them act like they don't know, but they know, right? It's hard.
They know they haven't paid.
I lived it
Yeah.
with my mom, right? I lived it with my mom. And it sucks. You know what I mean? It's not a good thing. And you have to be compassionate. You got to be understanding. At least I am. right?
Well, I mean, it's got to be
It's a
weird,
scary
you know.
situation. It's a scary situation.
You know, a lot of feelings involved.
Yes. And usually the persons, they always blame somebody else. Even if it's, 100% of their fault. Guys, be realistic. If you could and don't try a couple different realtors. I mean, like I said, some are hawks and some are really trying to help you.
Some of them are tied in with investors and stuff like that.
Some of them are
right?
tied in with investors, yes. Right? But if somebody's truly trying to help you, their first choice should be to put your house on the market and get you your top dollar for it. Yeah. Now, it depends. And when people know they're losing their home, what happens when they know they're going to get it foreclosed?
Well, I mean, $5,000 is better than nothing.
No, but they let it go. They don't fix stuff. Their stuff gets broken. So what happens? You're going to get less money for your house.
You're going to create a less marketable
home. You might even create a non-financeable home.
Okay.
Meaning, if there's 20 buyers out there that want to buy your home, but your home is not financeable because you have broken windows, you took out the carpet, there's all this different stuff, right? But plumbing, holes in the you let it run down. Well, those 10 people can't buy your home. Maybe only one has the cash, and how they say cash is king. So they know
they're gonna offer you the lowest.
They're gonna offer you less,
yeah,
because they're an investor, and you gotta understand they gotta make a profit.
Yeah.
They gotta
put money into it.
They gotta put money into it. They gotta fix it. Wait, it's holding costs.
Yeah.
So they get to turn around and sell it to one of those 10 people that wanted to buy it.
They're gonna sell it back to the people that didn't qualify for the.
Well, they couldn't qualify because. So I always tell people, look, man, if whatever situation, don't let your house get run down. If you can't pay, still maintain it. Talk to a realtor. Get it sold for the best amount of money you can.
And get some money out of it.
The foreclosure. Now, there's sometimes. Let's say you bought a home last year, right? Or 2 years ago, and you bought it at what it's worth right now. So you're probably gonna foreclose if you can't pay it. Why? Because by the time you list it with an agent and everything, and you pay the closing costs and fees and everything, there's just not gonna be enough money in there. You're gonna be what they call upside down.
But it'll set you up to buy a home quicker?
What do you mean?
Like if you can get out of it?
Yeah, you could get out of it. Yeah, because you don't have a foreclosure on
record.
On credit. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So give yourself a chance. I mean, I hope it never happens to you. But if it does, don't let your house get run down. Get a realtor and get it sold. If you can't, there's some people that don't want to deal with it because they're embarrassed, they're whatever, they're ashamed. It's not a good feeling, right? It's
it's got to be.
I don't know, maybe 1 out of 1,000, but nobody goes in to say, I'm buying a home, and in 2 years I'm not going to pay for it, and I'm going to foreclose.
That would be like
nobody does that.
narcissistic.
Nobody does that. So everybody buys a home with intentions to pay it off.
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's the plan, right? That's the full intentions.
Or for an investment or whatever.
Or an investment, but to pay it off.
But not to lose it to the bank.
Not to lose it to the bank.
I mean, why would you want to put in your down payment and all that?
Why would you do that?
Flush it down the toilet.
You don't want to do that. So that's what I'm saying. Keep your home, maintain it. If you're going to foreclose or if you're thinking you have no other choice.
There's options.
There's options.
Okay.
There's options. Get with the realtor. Call me. I'll I'll give you.
Larry will be an option.
No, and not as far as buying it. Could I buy it? Yes. I'm not trying to promote I'll buy the property, but like I said, I'm gonna always recommend you first. Hey, this is what your house is worth. You
give options. You're not a shark.
I tell people, look, man.
Larry's like a teddy bear.
And there's some people that they want to sell it to investors. Like, I don't want to deal with this. They're embarrassed.
They just want to get out.
They want to get out, right? They want to get out.
But a good realtor will be able to advise you. And if not, Larry will. Larry, where can they call you for a hug?
No Sweet Mortgage at 928-785-2451, 928-785-2451. I'm inside the realty agency here on 4th Avenue, 2052.
Your building's almost getting done.
Our building is almost done.
Almost done, huh?
Yeah. Almost done.
All right. Yeah. We'll see you at your new location pretty soon, Larry.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see Larry here next time. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
La neta con Larry Navarrete.